Jefferson County Court, Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session with its announcement docket. And first case that, well, the next case that we're going to call is cause number 23CCCR 1871. And the case is styled the state of Texas versus James S. Gill. Mr. Gill, is that your full name?
Yes.
Mr. Gill, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Gill, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yeah.
Mr. Gill, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Gill?
Doing good.
Doing good? That's good. Mr. Gill, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Todd Takash. Attorney Takash, how are you doing?
Very good.
Okay. Mr. Takash is appearing via Zoom. Now, Mr. Takash, do you waive a record in Mr. Gill's case?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gill, I have before me a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of the, well, excuse me. Oh, I have before me a document that is titled Joint Request for Plea and or Sentencing by Video Conference under the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Articles 17.18. Now, this document, Mr. Gill, allows your attorney, Mr. Takash, to appear via Zoom or via video conference. Now, there is a signature on this document that is titled Defendant. Is this your signature?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Takash, prior to signing this document, did you read the document? Or
Yes.
did you understand? Okay, okay. And Mr. Gill, prior to you signing the document, did you read the document? And did you understand everything in this document? And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Okay. I also have before me a document that is titled complaint. This complaint was filed by the JP Court in Jefferson County, and in this Jefferson County, Texas, and in this complaint, it alleges that you, James S. Gill, on or about May 19th of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class C misdemeanor offense of speeding. Mr. Gill, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Okay, in this, I have a document here that has your initials on a line that's titled Nola Contendere, which means no contest. Are you pleading no contest? Let me show you this document. Nola Contendere means no contest.
Okay.
And that's what you're pleading? Now, Mr. Gill, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily? Freely and voluntarily means you're doing it of your own free will.
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges? Okay. Mr. Gill, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. On this document, well, first of all, do you recognize this document?
Uh-huh.
And you notice that on this document, there's one box that's checked. The box that's checked states that this is a Class C misdemeanor. And now for a Class C misdemeanor, you cannot be given a fine that exceeds $500. So you can be given a fine from $500 on down. Do you understand that? Also, on this document, it states that this is a plea bargain case. That is, you and your attorney have reached a plea bargain with the state to settle this case. Do you understand that? Now, you understand that if I follow this plea bargain agreement, you would have to get my permission to appeal your case. Do you understand that? Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Now, in this document, it also talks about notice of judicial clemency. That only applies if you had probation. Your case is not a probation case. Now, you are waiving your rights in this case. One, you stated to the court that you are mentally competent to stand trial. You also stated to the court that you are waiving the reading of the charging instrument. The charging instrument is the complaint. And so you're waiving the reading of the complaint, and you're pleading, you're stating that you committed each and every element of this offense. Is that correct?
Yes.
On page 3 of this document, there's a signature. Is this your signature? Okay. Also, I have another document here. This document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on this document? At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement? The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement? Okay. I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. That's this document. Do you recognize this document? Now, this document is stating that your attorney have received discovery or have access to the discovery of the evidence in this case. Is that correct? Now, Mr. Gill, I'm going to get all of these documents that I just showed you. Now, all of these documents that I just showed you, prior to you signing these documents, the document was handed out to you and you had opportunity to review these documents. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he stated that he was a citizen of the United States. Do you have, like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1? Mr. Takash, do you have any objections to State's Exhibit Number 1?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, no objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Takash, you've advised and counseled Mr. Gill. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Mr. Gill, your attorney, Mr. Takash, has advised you and Mr. Boudreaux has advised you. Now, are you satisfied with the services of your attorney? Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Okay. Mr. Gill, I'll accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, sure.
What is that agreement?
For plea of no contest, the state has offered a $100 fine plus court costs.
And the court cost is $272, $277? Okay, Mr. Gill, the state is offering that you pay a fine of $100 plus court costs of $277, which comes to a total of $377. Mr. Gill, will you be able to pay the $377 today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Gill, do you understand the state's offer? Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yeah.
And do you accept the state's offer? Mr. Gill, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Gill, this will conclude your case. You're gonna stand next to our court bailiff, follow her directions. Once you finish following her directions, she's going to tell you to go downstairs to the county clerk's office where you can make the payment. you need to bring that judgment with you. And once you make that payment, they're going to give you a receipt. You need to come back upstairs to this courtroom with the receipt so we can verify that the payment has been made today. Do you understand? Okay, please stand next to the bailiff. Oh, you know what? Oh, okay, here you go. You're gonna have to send this here to him.
Yeah.
To sign, okay. And then I'm gonna need to give to the next case, that's 30, that's 40. Okay, Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in 2 cases. First case is cause number 23CCCR 1939. And the second case is cause number 23CCCR 1940. Both cases are style the state of Texas versus John Galen Crosby. Mr. Crosby, would you please come forward? Mr. Crosby, your full name is John Galen Crosby. Mr. Crosby, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Crosby, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Crosby, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Crosby? That's good. Now, Mr. Crosby, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Todd Takash, who is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Takash, do you waive a record in Mr. Crosby cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Crosby, in cause number 23CCCR 1940, I have before me a document that is titled Joint Request for Plea and or Sentencing by Video Conference under Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 27.18. Mr. Crosby, do you recognize this document? Now, Mr. Crosby, is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? And Mr. Takashi, you've also signed this document, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Crosby, before you signed this document, did you read the document? Did you understand what you read? And is everything in this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge? And Mr. Crosby, I also have before me a document that is titled complaint. This complaint was filed by the city of Beaumont. In this complaint, it alleges that you, John Galen Crosby, on or about January 23rd of, on or about January 5th of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you was charged with that making a right-hand turn at a said intersection and failed to make both the approach and the turn as closely as practical to the right-hand curve or edge of the roadway. You understand what you've been charged with? And basically it was an illegal right turn. And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily? And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Crosby, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. Do you recognize this document? Now, on this document, there's one box that's checked The box that's checked states that this is a Class C misdemeanor. And the range of punishment for a Class C misdemeanor is a fine that does not exceed $500. Do you understand that? Also, on this document, it states that this is a plea bargain case. That is, you and your attorney have worked out an agreement with the state. And you asking the court to follow this agreement? Okay. Now, if the court does not follow the agreement, you realize that you are entitled to withdraw or take back your plea agreement. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if the court does follow the plea bargain agreement, if you want to appeal your case, you would have to get permission from the court or from the judge. Do you understand that? Yeah. Now, are you a citizen of the United States? Now, do you understand the consequences of your plea agreement? That is, if the court follows this plea agreement, the court will follow the agreement that you've made with the state. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And in this case, it's a fine only, a fine and court costs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, also, and that will result in a conviction on your record. Do you understand that? Now, also in this document, you're waiving your right to a jury trial and you're waiving your right to have witnesses to come to court to testify for you or against you. Do you understand that? And you also, in your plea of no contest, you're stating to the court that you understand the charging instrument or read the charging instrument, which is the complaint that I read to you earlier, charging you with an illegal right turn. And you're stating to the court that you committed each and every element of this offense. Is that correct? Now, are these your initials on the line next to a box that's checked nulli contingere, which means no contest? On page 3 of this document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature? Okay. And I also have a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that is titled defendant? I also have a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? Okay. Now, Mr. Crosby, before you sign and initial all of these documents that I just showed you, did you read the documents? Did you understand what you read? And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
They offer stage 1.
Mr. Takashi, the state is offering state's exhibit number 1. Do you have any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
No objections. State's exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Takashi advised and counseled Mr. Crosby. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Crosby, your attorneys, Mr. Takashi, as well as Mr. Boudreaux has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with their representation? Have they provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Okay, Mr. Crosby, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
For plea of no contest, the state has offered a $100 fine plus court costs in this case, and a dismissal based on this plea in 23 CCCR 1939.
Okay, Mr. Crosby, the state is offering that you pay a fine of $100, plus court costs of $277, which comes to a total of $377. Will you be able to pay that fine today? The state will also be dismissing cause number 23 CCCR 1939. Mr. Crosby, do you understand the state's offer? Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And do you accept the state's offer? Mr. Crosby, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Crosby, you're going to stand next to our bailiff, follow her directions. She's going to give you some paperwork to bring with you downstairs to the county clerk's office. And once you get that paperwork and pay the fine, you need to come back upstairs with the receipt and give it to, and present that to our court coordinator. Okay, and this will conclude your case. You're free to go, and you have a blessed day. And you're gonna be sending something.
Let them know. I'm gonna go and do it right now. Tell them I'm gonna send.
The paperwork is